Welcome to the IIBA Tampa Bay, Florida chapter. This is May 27th, 2025. It's our 166th class. Tonight we have the pleasure of having DavidVrbanek talk to us about 4 practices for effective business analysis. He's been working in business analysis for over 20 years, and he's got some stories to tell. My name is Thea Soren. I'm the president of this IIBA chapter. I've been a business analyst for almost 30 years, and along the way, I've led IIBA chapters for almost half that time. I've had the pleasure of being one of the authors for the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge 3.0, among others, and founded a few organizations, including the BA Force Multiplier Movement, and now working with Angela Wick to lead Elevate Leading BA Voices. I'm also a business consultant, a trainer, a mentor, and I work worldwide. For those of you who are new to the IIBA, the International Institute of Business Analysis, it's a governing global body for business analysts with about 30,000 members, 120 chapters worldwide, 7 certifications. We are excited about making the world better, one business, one project, and one life at a time. What are the benefits of joining the IIBA? You receive training from chapters around the world, free access to over 11,000 excellent books, including the IIBA's BABOK, webinars, and more. You have networking opportunities in a wide variety of formats and discounts on certification exams. I told you that the IIBA has 120 chapters worldwide. This is the Tampa Bay, Florida chapter, and this is our board. These are the folks who work behind the scenes for your benefit. We appreciate them working so diligently to keep us going. Our chapter strives to build a thriving community of empowered business analysts. Members of the Tampa Bay, Florida chapter are not limited to those who live in the state of Florida. In fact, our members live all over the world. If you do not have an IIBA chapter, Tampa Bay can be your chapter. If you want to join us, reach out to me on LinkedIn and we'll see if it's a good fit for you. Why would you choose to join the Tampa Bay chapter? We offer multiple training sessions each week, including CBAP prep, coaching, and we have built relationships with an impressive number of beneficial partners, all to benefit our participants become better, more effective business analysts. You can see our upcoming events at our website and updates posted across LinkedIn and Facebook. You can also access over 160 hours of our events on YouTube. Again, you can get the index of all those recordings at Bob's Amazing Index at rpchurchill.com. Thanks to Bob Churchill. Those trainings, all of those trainings over years, have resulted in these wonderful folks, students of those classes, reaching out to tell us that our training was a big part of their success in achieving their certification. Of the 19, 9 have gone on to lead IIBA chapters here and around the world, further demonstrating the value they have found in this chapter and this training. I look forward to figuring out how the current class is going to be fit on this page. And we receive letters like this one. It is our fuel. This is how we know we're making a positive difference in lives. If we have helped you with information, mentoring, or you obtaining a certification, please let us know. I share this with our board members and it really gives them a boost. So reach out directly or plaster it on LinkedIn and tag us. As we continue to work for our community, we have created a differentiator for college students. We call them emerging professionals. We want to help them to graduate college with not only a degree, but also a membership in a professional organization, a professional certification, and maybe more. Reach out to Kennedy Davis, our Director of Emerging Professionals, for more information, or reach out to me. For those of you who actually live in the state of Florida, if you wish to meet with other business analysts in real life, reach out to me so that we can begin a chapter branch near you. In working to enlarge the education of our community, we've partnered with several organizations to get the bleeding edge information to you, but our number one partner group is still you, the IIBA member, and those who participate in our chapter. We are partnered with over a dozen other IIBA chapters worldwide and 2 chapters that are just forming. Reach out to me if you want to contact with the Oklahoma City, the Houston, or any of the other chapters that we are partnering with. We've also partnered with other organizations in the Tampa Bay area and around the world. As always, our goal is to elevate our BA community. We've partnered with several recruiting services and training companies for your benefit. Apex Systems is one of our recruiting companies. They regularly offer free courses that cover a wide variety of useful topics. If you go to either our website to get a link or go to their website, choose webinars and workshops. Over the next 2 months, the Bluegrass chapter, one of our best partners, is hosting study groups for both the Agile Analysis certification and for the Product Ownership Analysis certification. In addition, an interactive conversation with the author of the pivotal book, Foundations of Business Analysis, Yulia Kosarenko. And they're also going to have a social called 7 Degrees of Bacon. You can register at the Bluegrass website. Skills Development Group is one of our IIBA endorsed education partner providers. They're currently promoting their half-hour courses, but I noticed on their website they have over 50 courses currently being offered, and their instructors are some of the very best in the business. They also offer webinars and so many other resources. You can see it on their website. Benefits of our partnership include discounts to our participants. Watermark Learning offers you a 40% discount using this code, TAMPA21. That means you can get unlimited access to 1,200 CBAP practice test questions at a 40% discount. Educate 360 is the parent company for Watermark, and they are the providers for the CBAP practice test question bank that I've used for many years. They also have lots of free resources available on their website. One of them here that I want to point out is the Art and Science of Conflict Management. Adaptive US, another one of our EEP partners, offers a 20% discount on all of their live classes and on-demand courses, excluding the IIBA exam vouchers. Adaptive also specializes only in business analysis. They offer you a guarantee if you take certification courses through them, and they have a huge bank of BA articles that you can peruse. Now to IIBA news that you need to know. Those of you who are working to earn your ECBA, the Entry Certification of Business Analysis, it will get a bit harder on July 22nd. If you can take it prior to that date, it would be smart. IIBA members, if you are an IIBA member, get an additional discount on your CCBA and CBAP application fees. You have only until the end of this month, just days, to get an additional 50% off. 2 things to note here. The membership fee for 1 year is less than the discount you receive on those test fees, so you save money on the deal. And you don't need to have your application ready to submit to pay the fee. You just pay the fee and then you can take care of your application later. So be clear, this reduces your fee from $145 US to $95. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. We know that there are jobs out there, and we know where the talent is. Reach out to me and I'll play BA matchmaker to get qualified individuals to your desk. I was on LinkedIn today and saw something brand new. I don't know if this is only for premium members, but I think it is. They have a new listing, people who are hiring for your role. And so this is whatever role you have as your identity. They will show you the people that are hiring, and it was pages of these. To do something tangible to help our community find jobs, I created an open group on LinkedIn. I post dozens of jobs here daily from my network of 16,000 connections as well as emails. You're invited to add your jobs here or peruse the jobs as you wish. Tonight, we have the pleasure of David talking 4 practices for effective business analysis, what the last 20 years have taught me. He's going to go over the essentials: question and verify, be from Missouri, document, and never stop learning. I'm looking forward to this. But first, let's talk about what's coming up in the near future. Next week, Irina is going to talk about regulatory framework in healthcare, useful tips for business analysts. The week after that, Barb is going to talk about chameleons and peacocks, helping you stand out at work. Which ones should you be targeting? The week after that is one I'm especially excited about. June 19th, Heath joins us for one of the most critical skills a BA needs, creating significance while creating workplaces that make people feel essential. It's a truly fantastic presentation. On the 26th, Joel is bringing considerations for leveraging risk management practices and competencies to enhance business analysis and project outcomes. If you don't think about risk on a daily basis, you need to be listening to this guy. And on the July 3rd, we expected to be very light attendance, so I put myself here instead of asking a speaker to come. I'm going to talk about customizing communications based upon personality. Looking far to the future, in August and September, we're going to conduct an 8-week session on a real project walking through the software development lifecycle, software development in an agile format. We're asking participants to commit to attending all 8 weeks, as each will have a role through that project. Now for our presentation. Take it away, David.
Thank you, Tia. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon from wherever you may be joining us. And thank you, Tia, and the committee for having me here to present in this class. I'm just going to take a moment here to share my screen now. All right. So while you peruse the cover slide here, I just want to give a little background to myself. I, again, have been practicing for over 20 years, which explains all the gray hair on the top and the sides of my head. I started out actually graduating from university with a French studies degree. I am based here in Toronto, Canada, thinking that I was going to pursue a bilingual-based career for my work journey. And I started out in the world of call centers, being that rep on the other end of the phone that you complain to when something doesn't go right, all the way through to a call center manager for the first 5 years of my work journey. But then realized at that point it was not a fit for me. So I decided to do something else. And through a friend of a friend, I joined a startup software company. And they were looking for a trainer, someone to teach the end users about how to use their software product. And that's where I had the transferable skills from the call center world of handling call objections and preparing examples and what have you. And what was supposed to be a 3-month contract turned into 5 years. I was bitten by the BA bug and got through the entire SDLC on a few projects, and the rest is history, as they say. And I share that background with you quickly just to let those new and aspiring BAs joining us tonight know that it absolutely does not matter from where you start your career. Again, linguistics degree over here, and you can have an effective career in business analysis. You do not need to have developer experience. You do not need to have any kind of IT background. I have not taken any IT courses over those 20 years, and I can't write a single line of code to save my life. Period, full stop. So you absolutely can start from anywhere. So I hope that resonates with some, if not many of you, as you embark on your journey or are partway through that journey. You can do it with a willingness to learn, strong work ethic, and just literally ready to roll up your sleeves and participate in any project or continuous improvement team that you can. So a little snippet of me to you. But some months ago, I took the opportunity to reflect on my journey when I crossed the 20-year mark and what it meant to be a seasoned business analyst. And what struck me is that I couldn't help but marvel at the myriad lessons that I had learned along the way. The role of a BA is a dynamic one. I refer to it as a blend of analytical skills, interpersonal finesse, and an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. So I'd like to share 4 pivotal lessons that have shaped my career and continue to guide me to this day through this ever-evolving business landscape that we find ourselves in. One of the cardinal rules, in my humble opinion, in the world of business analysis is to always question and verify. It's very easy to get caught up in assumptions, often leading to misguided decisions. Early in my career, I learned the importance of untangling the web of assumptions that can plague a project. The BA is the last project team member that should assume anything. Being a BA isn't just about eliciting requirements. It's about understanding the underlying rationale, motivations, and challenging preconceived notions. I recall a project where stakeholders were convinced that a particular feature was essential for success. However, through a series of probing questions and a meticulous verification exercise, it became evident that that perceived necessity was based on outdated information. So the key takeaway I want to share with you from this habit is to approach every project with what I call a healthy dose of skepticism. Don't be afraid to ask the tough questions and challenge the status quo, regardless of where you are in your BA journey. You have an equal seat at the table to every other member of that project team at that time. And by doing so, asking those tough questions and challenging that status quo, you'll not only uncover hidden insights, but you'll also ensure that any recommendations that you are asked to make from time to time as a BA are grounded in solid, verified information. Just as a quick aside, folks, I'm happy to take questions at any point throughout the presentation. TN Company, if you wouldn't mind flagging me to those as they arise, because I am presenting on one screen and the other one is taken up with some other content as well. So thank you in
We will
advance.
do that.
Thank you. The next habit here draws on the expression, I'm from Missouri, you'll have to show me. This is one of my personal favorites and always gets a smile wherever I share it, because, you know, wherever you may be from, effective immediately, I encourage you to think that you are from the state of Missouri and embody the crucial mindset that a BA needs to have when it comes to this type of show me the proof mentality. In a world that's inundated with data and information, it's very easy to be swayed by impressive presentations and persuasive arguments. On top of this, as many of us know, stakeholders are not always clear about their needs, nor describing their pain points. Seasoned analysts understand the value of demanding tangible proof. In my experience, this lesson really hit home during a project where my fellow project team members and I anticipated that our shortlisted vendors would not show us exactly what we needed to see from their software solutions. As such, we adopted the show me the proof mentality, and instead of relying solely on their assurances that their software products could do what we needed it to do, we insisted that each vendor follow the same demo script that we had prepared to validate their claims. So that way we would see the information the way we wanted to see it, in the order we wanted to see it, to reflect how our end users worked in our business operations. That demo script not only revealed potential pitfalls that were conveniently omitted in their earlier sales pitches, but also allowed for necessary adjustments before a full-scale implementation. This experience really reinforced to me the importance of being discerning, even when faced with seemingly convincing propositions. As a BA, it's crucial to be an advocate for evidence-based decision-making. The three most important things in real estate are location, location, and location. If there's one lesson that's really become ingrained in my daily routine, it's the importance of documenting, documenting, and documenting some more. In this fast-paced world of business that we're in, details can easily slip through the cracks if not captured and cataloged appropriately. Writing things down frees your mind to do what you do best, which is to analyze instead of trying to remember everything. Whether it's meeting minutes, requirements, project timelines, meticulous documentation serves as the BA's blueprint. I recall a project where seemingly insignificant detail from early discussions ended up being a game changer in the final implementation phase. Without thorough documentation, that critical piece of information might have been lost in the shuffle. So documenting is not only going to aid in the clarity of communication, but also serve as a historical record for you. It enables teams to track the evolution of a project, learn from past experiences, and ultimately avoid repeating mistakes. As a seasoned BA, I've learned that a well-documented project is a resilient project. And last, but certainly not least, the habit of never stop learning. In this realm of business analysis, stagnation is a recipe for obsolescence. The technological landscape, business practices, and market dynamics are in a perpetual state of flux. Embracing the practice of never stop learning has been a cornerstone of my professional journey. Early in my career, I made a conscious effort to stay abreast not only of emerging technologies and industry trends, but also evolving methodologies. This commitment to continuous learning has kept me relevant, generated new ideas, allowed me to converse better overall, all of which have opened doors to new opportunities and challenges like presenting to you tonight. This digital transformation era we have found ourselves in over the last number of years has ushered in tools and techniques that were unimaginable a decade ago. As a BA, staying ahead of the curve is not just a luxury, but a necessity. Attending workshops, pursuing certifications, engaging with industry communities like the Tampa Bay chapter are avenues that I have consistently explored to fuel my appetite for learning. So to wrap up, my 20 years of a BA have shown me that no two projects are identical and that each project is its own canvas. And the lessons learned are the brushstrokes that will shape the final masterpiece. Questioning assumptions, advocating for proof, meticulous documentation, and a relentless pursuit of knowledge form the bedrock of success in this dynamic field. Weaving these lessons into our everyday activities, we not only navigate the complexities of business analysis, but also contribute to the growth and the resilience of the organizations that we serve. So please continue your BA journey with curiosity, skepticism, diligence, and an unwavering commitment to lifelong learning. Thank you
Wow,
very much for
David,
the time.
that was excellent.
Thank you very much. Thank you for letting me share and introducing myself to the Tampa Bay community.
You are welcome. Let's go over some of the points that you have. Oh, sorry. You
No,
have
this is
more?
it. This is just a waiting slide.
Okay. All right. Your first topic was question and verify. Is
Yes.
that like speak softly and carry a big stick?
No, it's more the idea, Tia, of not taking anything for granted. When a stakeholder speaks, we shouldn't assume it to be clear, accurate, and completely thought out. There are many times where in my early years I was burned by doing so and came to learn that, there are assumptions baked into a lot of our stakeholders' statements. So we need to be certain, right? Some people change the expression around to say trust, but verify. I
Mm-hmm.
prefer question and verify. I think it resonates more. And it's really just a matter of understanding the underlying rationale. If what your stakeholders are telling you is not a clear, accurate, and complete thought down to the level of details and specifics you need as a BA, then there's your opportunity to question and verify. Always politely, always professionally, but to dig into it and make sure you really understand. Because if you don't really understand, there are others that will not really understand. And those beliefs slash assumptions will carry on until an unfortunately critical point later on in the project's life cycle. And therefore you have sunk costs, rework, a bit of both, not a fun experience. So
I
that's
agree with
the
you.
ultimate message.
Have you ever found that whenever you get information from stakeholders, their unspoken goals and assumptions kind of slide in there and they don't explain that part to you? They just tell you the information from their perspective and you have to kind of figure all the rest out?
That's part of the underlying rationale that I'm referring to, right? To
Mhm.
understand really where this is coming from. What's the context? To me, context is everything in a project, right? Each project is its own set of circumstances, conditions, and constraints, and understand how that works, right? You may be implementing Salesforce CRM as your day job for many years, but I can absolutely guarantee that no two Salesforce implementations are exactly the same. So what
Mhm.
about the context of this project versus that project is different, right? Some of it will be similar, slightly or moderately, but what's different? And we need to really understand what they're going for in project B versus what they went for in project A, because they're not identical. Even though it's Salesforce being implemented in both those examples, they're different projects, they're different implementations, and we need to really understand what's going on.
I agree. Do we have any questions or comments on that topic from the audience? I encourage you to come off mute.
Please feel free to pick whatever's left of my BA brain.
I do have a question. So, thank you for your presentation. It was really right on spot. Uh, if you should give two advice for someone that just started, his journey, what are the top three advice you will give to that person?
The exact 4 habits that I went through tonight, Kosi, to be honest. I really took some time to really think this through and distill it down to what I would consider to be universal truths, right? You saw nothing here related to technology, right? These are all just practices and skills and habits that we should form in our everyday BA activities. Some of them will involve technology, some of them will not. I've known many a BA over the years that are just process analysts. And I don't say just to be demeaning, I just say that's what they do. They work with business unit after business unit to streamline and optimize business processes, nothing more, nothing less. They don't touch any of the tech tools that they use. They just find ways to be more efficient and effective with their process flows. So it really comes down to me to these universal truths that I refer to as habits.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Anyone else on question and verify? Doug just asked, I wonder how will be the process of elicitation with the help of AI?
So in my opinion, I echo many of the BA leaders in our community who say that a BA who knows how to use AI will replace a BA that doesn't. I believe that to be true, but there's only so much that AI will be able to do for us. It doesn't yet. It's not yet a sentient being, so it's not able to really understand the human thought process and human context and the human condition, if you will. So there will always be a need for a human BA, I believe, to take whatever outputs we may receive from AI based on the prompts we put into it, and at least refine and tweak it and polish it to fit the context of the project and the work products we are trying to deliver. To me, it's very much a garbage in, garbage out situation. If you put in a very vague prompt, you're going to get a very vague response. So one of the skills I would strongly encourage everyone here tonight to build on or obtain in the first place is prompt engineering, which is a very fancy way of saying crafting effective AI prompts, or at least effective Gen AI prompts to be more specific, so that you can put in a quality ask to the generative AI tool and get a very quality response that you would only then really have to refine, tweak, and polish to ensure it fits the context of the project you're working on. So, yeah, I'm a big proponent of. I see it as a strategic collaborator to us as BAs, but you really have to know how to use it and use it well. And it requires a lot of the critical thinking, analytical thinking, probative questioning type skills that we BAs use on a regular basis with other humans over the course of our daily project work to, in fact, interact with generative AI in an effective way.
Very nice. Okay, your next point was be from Missouri. Show me. Does anybody
Show me,
have any
show me,
comments
show me.
on that?
Yeah, I'll just add while we're waiting to you that oftentimes when I've been struggling with stakeholders and trying to understand what they're trying to describe to me as their pain points, for example, I often ask them, is there any way you can show me that report that you're having trouble with? Or can you walk me through that screen where things are getting stuck or things are unclear? As opposed to trying to continue it verbally, pause and take the opportunity to either then or at another scheduled time have a sit down with them and have them actually show you what they're going through. And you'd be surprised how many eureka light bulbs go off in your head once you start to really see what they're talking about. Because guess what? They're not always the best communicators. And even though some of them think they are project savvy and IT savvy folk, in a lot of cases, they're not. So they're trying to describe things in a way they think makes sense, but it may not make sense to everybody else. So the opportunity to be shown tangible proof of what their experience is or what they like to see or what they need can sometimes make a world of difference in your clarity. And when you're clear, your requirements package is clear, and everyone benefits from that in the project team.
Oh, and I have to second that one, David. Would also like to point out that we need to be cautious of the, how do I put this politely? The business user who has never been able to find a way to connect with IT except to tell IT what steps they should take rather than tell them what the result needs to be and why.
Oh, yes, because a lot of people, even though they're not IT savvy, think they are and think that they can diagnose the situation and they know how to solve it. And unfortunately, in my experience, that complicates matters more than solves them. So I hear your point, Carol. Yeah, very much so. Again, for us, it's really understanding what's going on, what's happening, what are your pain points, and then together we'll work to figure out how to address that and how to solve for it. But a lot of people like to put the how before the what, and that doesn't lead to anything productive.
I was on a project once, David, that I got to take it one step further. We went on a Kaizen, and we we gowned up in a diagnostic laboratory, and we went to the folks that were bringing in the specimens, the test tubes, and for an hour they told us what they were doing, and we asked them questions, and we wrote down our requirements. We did all the great BA things, and then the next hour the head of the lab said, "Now you sit down there and do the job." It was very, very different. Figuring out how to manipulate the different trays and scan things and use the screen. And I learned so much more by doing the job than just getting more information. Um, that made the project a whole lot better. My requirements were better. I understood a lot more that way.
Exactly. When you're clear, your requirements will be clear, which is what everyone needs them to be in order for the project to be effective going forward. Absolutely
Right.
correct.
Right.
Spot on. Thank you both.
And your next point was document, document, document. David, what's your favorite way to document?
So I am currently in an organization full time that has adopted agile ways of working. So our space is Confluence, and various pages. We've created templates for creating what we call requirement summaries. And we, as a lead BA, I work with my peers to structure the template in a way that makes sure that it tells the story in a right way, from beginning to end, from high level to low level details. So Confluence really has been my tool of choice there. But beforehand, I really worked in Word. There wasn't any other tool that I needed to work in or that I found would be more effective, because it really was about how did I put the information on the page. And a tool wasn't really going to help me with that. It was my critical thinking skills, my analytical thinking skills, and the probative questioning beforehand that led to my notes that allowed me to put it on the page in a certain format. So I was around way back when, Tia, when we were doing 50, 75 page BRDs. And that's what the work product that was expected. And no one's going to read that in 2025. No one has the time nor the inclination to do so. So it's really more about finding the right format for your audience and then presenting it that way, or working with your PMO type office in the organization to understand what are the standard practices in the organization and learn to follow those accordingly. So that's my answer.
Tell me about templates. What is your experience using templates, and when would you use it and when would you not?
I would use templates as an input. So if my organization does not have any pre-configured templates for me to use for requirements documentation or acceptance criteria documentation or whatever the case may be, then I would go, if I felt it appropriate, and use the interweb to find templates out there. But I always remember that they were written they were created in the context of someone else's project, with someone else's scope in another company, perhaps in another industry. So I take it and I look to pick what makes sense for my project and incorporate it into the template I have. I do not just use it whole form and just bring it right in. No, because that was written in a certain way for somebody else, and that may not make sense for the context of the project that I'm working on. So tread lightly, but be resourceful, right? If there's a section that's valuable, or the way they lay out, the functional versus non-functional, or the way they lay out the process requirements is a way that makes sense to you, or it would make sense with just a little tweak, then take it, tweak it, and use it on your own. But I've rarely found a case where I can just take a template whole and copy and paste it and use it in the context of my current project, because the contexts never match.
Right. I found a strength in using consistent formats with the same stakeholders. For instance, if you have to rewrite 50 different reports, if you have a template to gather requirements on, that way as your business stakeholders and your developers are looking at the results, they recognize it. They don't have to go, well, where did they put it this time? If it's in the same place, in the same format, it just streamlines it. And you
Absolutely.
can customize as you need, make it better.
Right, but only as an exception, right? You would
As an
customize as an exception, not as the
Right.
rule. Right. So
Right.
absolutely, when you're having, dozens upon dozens of outputs that you're trying to, understand the needs and requirements for, absolutely standardize the template that way, fill it in, and customize on exception.
Very good. Has
100%.
anyone else used templates or had any experience with documenting that you'd like to convey?
I know for my team that I try to create as many templates as I can for my BAs, so then that way they at least have a starting point. And then if they come back and say, either this template doesn't work for XYZ, then we kind of have a group conversation and identify if the template should change or if it should stay and what those reasons are. But having templates across, especially when you have multiple BAs on a team, it keeps everybody a little more aligned and a little more organized.
Absolutely, Laura. Like I said, where I am full-time as a lead BA, my fellow lead BAs and I created this requirement summary template in Confluence, and it already has the sections built. But to your other point, if a section doesn't make sense for the context of the feature you are trying to document, take it out.
Exactly.
Remove it. No one says you have to fill all 20 sections. That's just throwing out a number there. No one says you have to fill all 20 sections every time. If sections 17 and 20 don't make sense for that feature you're trying to work on, then don't do it. Fill it in, not applicable, or whatever the case is. At least it shows you thought about it, determined it wasn't applicable, and rightly so, identified it as not applicable, and everyone knows. Every reader who reads it will know it was considered, wasn't applicable, and we moved on. So yeah, we have a team of 20, and we wouldn't be able to function and do peer reviews effectively if we didn't have a standard template to go by. But it's not meant to bind you, it's meant to guide you.
Exactly.
Right. David, I like what you said about put not applicable, because that shows people that you did consider it. It wasn't skipped.
Absolutely.
You weren't
Yep.
not going back to it later. It was considered. I think that's a very important point. Julian asks, do you have a certain max length that you try to stay within when writing your documented requirements?
No, I coach the BAs that I manage to tell the story but not write a novel, if that makes sense, right? Like part of our work is to be clear, accurate, and complete, but we should also look to be as concise as we possibly can. So it's not about being verbose, it's about telling the story to the necessary level of details and specifics, as I said before, in order to capture what the stakeholders said they needed and get the clarity across to the product owner and anyone else who's going to review and sign off on our requirement summary. So no max length necessarily, because some features will be bigger and hairier than others and will require more. They'll require more substantiating visual models like process models or data dictionaries, rather, data flow diagrams, decision tables, whatever you need to substantiate your main functional and non-functional requirements or substantiate your user stories. By all means do it, but don't go beyond what you need. Right? It's not about showing off how much you can create and produce as a work product. It's, are you building it to the context? Are you right sizing your work for the feature that you're working on?
And one other point you brought up earlier, David, that I want to reiterate here, because I find it incredibly important, is that consistency overrides the novel type approach. You're not trying to write a story and tell people things in multiple ways. You need to be consistent.
Fair enough. Jillian, I think you were going to share something as well.
Yeah, we tend to have such large processes at my employment where, like, I'm actually given a user story and it does become like a novel, and then we have a hard time breaking it up. The developer wants to break it into smaller pieces, and it's very difficult to find where that break is, because we're creating the UI, we're providing the data requirements, we have to provide functional requirements as well. So it's rather a large very large chapter rather than a user story. So, and once we get into it, we keep adding on and adding on. So I find it difficult when to break for the piece of requirement that they're asking for. And sometimes I think it's because the user statement's so broad, it's not as specific as it should be.
I was about to say, Jillian, yeah, the way I coach my my BAs is that a user story is a singular system function. That's it. If it's any broader than that or bundling more than one function into the story, then it's too big and you need to break it down into something smaller. And there's nothing wrong, again, with having those substantiating visual models to support it, right? To give that richer, juicier context and detail that devs and testers need, that one or two sentence statements can't always give. But the purpose of the story is to be that singular system function. And you could have many stories related to the visual models that you prepare, right, in support of them all. But yeah, that's a common challenge I've heard, and that's the message I'd like to give back. Thank you for sharing, Jillian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. Julia asked, do you use any AI tools? And I'm going to assume, which I'm not supposed to, that we're still talking about documentation.
Yes, if there's one tool that I've chipped away at is ChatGPT. I have found it to be better than Copilot, better than Gemini, in terms of the kind of outputs, the quality outputs that I'm getting. And one of the things that I've done, and I've also encouraged fellow or past students of mine to do as BAs that I mentor and coach, is to take all the elicitation notes that you've obtained from workshops, interviews, focus groups, what have you, and with an appropriate prompt, drop them into the prompt window of ChatGPT and ask it to review the notes and come out with major themes, major decisions, which stakeholder, supported which points and so on and so forth. I call it the grunt work. Let it do the grunt work to figure out, who's who in the zoo, who said what, who agreed on what decisions were made. And then you take that again, refine it, tailor it, polish it to make sure it makes full sense in the context of your project. And then that's one big step forward for you then to take that as an input into your eventual user stories or functional, non-functional requirements or what have you. But I always hated going through that, initial review of my elicitation notes and remembering what she said in that meeting versus what he said in that same meeting 2 weeks later, and that they're actually connected to the same feature or what have you. I let ChatGPT and all that horsepower do that initial interrogation of it, and then I take it the next way through until it's my polished final requirements package. So, bit long-winded there, Julia. Hopefully it made sense.
Thank you. Very helpful.
No problem.
I think David has a question next. David, do you want to ask? David is from the UK. It's 1 o'clock in the morning for him.
Is this Mr. Odepadan?
Yes, it is.
I know Mr. Odepadan.
Oh, he says he can't talk right now. So I'll read what he said. What's your view on automation and augmentation as a BA?
I'm going to ask David to clarify the augmentation portion of that, but the automation, it really comes down to if it makes sense to fit the objectives of the initiative that was sanctioned, right? If what they're trying to do is get rid of those laborious, monotonous, repetitive administrative tasks that can be done over and over again in the same way, things like RPA, robotic process automation, make a whole lot of sense. And let those people, let that human capital, as it's formally called, be used for more value-added activities in the business than simply doing monotonous, laborious, repetitive tasks over and over again that a machine can do and can follow and know, okay, this invoice comes in, it comes in from this vendor, these are the line items expecting, this is how it's to be processed, this goes to this GL, that goes to that. Like, that kind of stuff is absolutely perfect for RPA, and I would welcome that, absolutely. But it has to fit. It has to be fit for purpose.
I agree. David, if you want to talk about augmentation in the chat, we can convey that. You, David Vrbanek,
Yes.
talk about never stop learning.
Yes. I really don't know much more to say other than just keep going, folks. Like, it never ever stops. We will fall behind as BAs, if we do not keep up with latest technologies, methodologies, industry trends, as I said, we just have to. We absolutely just have to keep doing it. We are in a knowledge-based profession, and that knowledge is not just about business domain, but the technologies that are used in it, the methodologies that are used to deliver projects and in continuous improvement teams within it. So we just absolutely have to keep going. There really is no choice. And I personally enjoy it because I take myself to be very curious. You know, I actually joined the company I'm at just under 2 years ago and purposely chose the business domain they were in as the reason why I applied, because it was a new domain that I hadn't worked in for the 18 years prior at that point. So it was a chance for me to learn something new, to stay curious, stay active, and realize, just like many different professions or regulations or whatnot, it's more than just a simple statement you catch in a news bite. There's so many more details behind it, right? And just digging into all that, learning all that has just been feeding my professional curiosity, and I've been loving it. That's really been part of my 20+ year journey, is to find something new. I'm a generalist. I don't focus in any one industry or any one type of, product implementation. I will go wherever the project work is that I find to be interesting, something new to learn, think it's going to be a big bang hit, and will serve me well in terms of my candidacy for a future role, because I believe it's not just about the depth of what you learn in any one company or any one project, it's the breadth of your experience that employers also value as well.
I agree.
So never ever stop learning, folks.
David, I want to ask you about an idea that I've had recently. I think that
By all means.
learn the things that we're interested in, and we end up siloing ourselves. And what I mean is we get blinders to what else is out there because we don't know what we don't know. So my strategy has been going to conferences and just talking to everybody, not just the people that are talking about the things I want to know about, but I talk to everybody. And I talk to them, and then I think, if I were to explain this to a BA or an employer about why this is beneficial for me to know and how it can benefit them, what would I say? So I have to change the context. So I go to conferences, I scroll through LinkedIn, I go to random IIBA meetings and see what they're talking about, because sometimes they're talking about something that I'm really excited about, but I didn't even know about. What do you think?
I think the never stop learning applies to learning as much as you can about as many different domains as you can. I was a big attendee of free webinars back in the day when companies were really offering them left, right, and center. And so I would give up my lunchtime, to attend one of these. Well, I guess I was eating my lunch while listening, of course, but if you know me, I don't starve. But the idea is, yeah, take that time to learn. And believe it or not, I can't exactly recall the details, but I can honestly tell you there have been times, months or years down the road, where the information I learned in one of those free webinars came to be of value to a small or moderate degree in a further conversation. So you'd be surprised, right? This goes to what I mentioned in my presentation about being able to converse better. When you have that knowledge and you've been exposed to that, you're able to pass that along through your conversations and discussions with potential clients, with colleagues, with project sponsors, senior executives, whomever your audience may be. And that gets you noticed, that gets you visible, right? And I'm a firm believer that what leads us as BAs to the next project is being tapped on the shoulder from someone who we delivered a past project for. Right? People want to work with people who have successfully delivered, period, full stop. And so when that senior executive or that sponsor wants to run the next project, they often think of, who did I work with beforehand on a successful one, and know that I need this role. I need a PM, a BA, a PO, a tester, whoever I need. And they like to remember who they work with, who was successful, and try to get you back again. And that's what I have found has led to bigger and better projects over the years, and allowed me, again, it's like almost like not a vicious cycle, Tia, but just a what's the word, a positive or proactive cycle, right? That one begets the other, right? And you learn and you get the better project and experience, meet new people. Those new people can introduce you to other people or introduce you to new opportunities, and just like a spider web can grow. but you've got to put in the effort and the discipline and the action to pick up as much knowledge as you can. Not become the, someone that could go on Jeopardy and answer any bloody question out in the world, but enough to, within the world of project land and what companies are looking to implement and do in terms of technologies and methodologies, that's where we should sink our teeth into.
I agree. I'd like to hear from our audience. Where are places that you go to learn, and what are you interested in learning at right now?
No one's interested in learning, Tia. No one's hearing what I'm saying. No one's jumping on the bandwagon to never stop learning. I'm crushed. I just have to say, I'm crushed.
Well, I'm a university professor, so adjunct faculty, but I constantly take on new courses, so I'm constantly learning.
Yeah, no, I teach business analysis part-time at the University of Toronto, and a local college here in the Greater Toronto area. So they are the same courses over and over again, but there's always something for me to learn from a new student, a new perspective, a new project, or a new industry that I hadn't been exposed to. So I really enjoy those conversations, Carol. I get your point.
Yeah, well, yeah, the best way to learn something is to teach it to somebody else, in my experience.
True.
I just took a training this afternoon at my work for accessibility in Word, using alt text and making it more accessible for people who are impaired. So I actually
Very important.
Yeah, I did that on my
Nope.
own. Nobody told me to do it. I just signed up and went, just
Very
because I
good.
wanted to know.
Very good. No, and Jillian, I would encourage you to make that part of your performance review commentary whenever that fiscal year is for you at your place of employment, because those things can speak volumes to a line manager, right? To a people manager, to say they're proactive, they're wanting to learn, they're willing to learn. And again, that gets you tapped on the shoulder for an opportunity you otherwise may not have learned about. So good on you for that. Absolutely. On that same vein, T, if I may, to everyone, not every employer advertises that they have budget for professional development. Some will speak to it in their onboarding packages or their interview process with you, but others will not. There is sometimes money in the budget, aka on the table, that you don't know about. And it's all it takes is just for you to ask your line manager about it. And if he or she doesn't know, they'll go to HR and find out. And you could find sometimes thousands of dollars available to you for professional development. So if you think that attending free webinars or spending time finding the relevant YouTube video isn't going to work for you, and you just want to show up to a true professional that has curated a set of content that you want to learn, see if those dollars are available through your employer, right? The number one characteristic, let alone habits and skills, folks, the number one characteristic, in my opinion, for an effective BA is resourcefulness. It's not for us to know the business domain, right? When we work on projects, is for us to ask the questions in the right way, in the right order, to the right level of details and specifics to elicit that information from stakeholders, SMEs, end users, etc. The same thing goes with this. Treat it like a mini project. Dig, find out, see if what's available. It may not be thousands, it may be hundreds of dollars. It may be available every other year, if not just every year. Whatever the case is, dig, find out, be resourceful, and take advantage of that free money that's available to you. I know I did for several years at one employer, and it was absolutely beneficial, if not just for the learning itself, but for the fact it showed proactivity on my part, that I was doing this and wanting to learn, and that truly led to one of my best opportunities at that workplace in a multi-year IT transformation program. So you never know, folks. You never know. Keep digging, never stop learning.
I'd like to add to that, David. At my current employer, not only do they pay for us to get certifications, they pay the fees for us to get certifications. They don't make us take PTO if we are going to get certifications and we have to take time off work. They pay for that. And they give us monetary awards if we earn specific certifications. And there's an award as soon as you earn it, and then there's an award if you're still employed a year later. I mean, they really are invested in us, but it takes us asking, we don't get it just by magically being there. We have to ask,
Mhm.
and what's available, and what would you suggest, and how can I get there, and what, you got to ask. Who else is
Absolutely.
interested in learning, and where do you go to get it? I see smiles, but I'm not hearing anybody. Maybe you're on mute.
I think, Tia, what they're thinking is that they want to join my courses at the University of Toronto School of Continuing Studies, but they're just not there yet. They're close. They want it. They feel it. They feel the passion that I deliver these courses, and they're going to go there. They're just not there yet, so they can't say it yet. That's what they're
Well,
thinking.
I
I
like
can
the,
go ahead.
I like to go on LinkedIn Learning and do those courses. Coursera has some good courses. And then I look at universities and see if they have a course I can audit.
Ah, right.
There are a
Right.
lot of universities that offer courses to be audited, offer courses at discounts, and there's a lot of corporations that offer courses and certifications, and some of them are free, but you don't know about it unless you go look.
Mhm.
But the only reason to ever take any kind of education is if you want to grow. And who doesn't want to grow? All right. Julian says, I got a certificate from PHSC for computer programming. I also use skill set in my work. Very nice.
Very good. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, David, we are coming up to the top of the hour. I'm going to give one more person a chance to ask a question or make a comment. Anybody? Navia wants to know, how to use your degree as a BA. You have an answer
I
for
don't
that
use
one,
my
David?
degree as a BA. I don't use it in any particular way. I don't. I have the CSPO certification, and I did that just to simply better understand how my product owner thinks and what he needs to consider for the
Yeah.
product requirements and the roadmap that he has to put together and maintain. So that's the reason I obtained that certification, not for my own personal growth as a PO, is to be a more effective BA in the squad I'm on, and work with that PO specifically. So
Right, right. A CSPO is, for me, it was a weekend course. It took
same.
me a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I suddenly had letters after my name. It was like add water, have it, yeah, so it was kind of established prestige. But it truly, I took it for the same reason, David. I wanted to understand what a PO did and how I could best relate to them as a BA, and what did I want to do if I ever wanted to become a PO. But that course was probably one of the very best courses that I ever took, because they taught lean principles. They taught so many things that I had heard about, but I didn't really get until I did hands-on there.
And I had
So,
worked in Agile for some years before I took this TIA, sorry to interrupt. And I ended up taking this over a weekend, Saturday and Sunday for me, in December of 2023. That was with just under 18 years under my belt. And I decided to take it because I firmly believe in never stopping to learn.
right. And we can learn from each other too. David, thank you so
Absolutely.
much for bringing your knowledge and experience here to us. You've opened up our eyes to some things that you have available. We really appreciate that. Guys, thank you for your questions in the chat. Thank you for those of you who spoke up, and thank you for those of you who are on camera. It makes my job so much easier. I'm looking forward to next week. You've already heard what's coming up. Next week we have Irina. She's one of our own students here. She's working on her CBAP certification here, but she also works in medical software. Software in itself is one thing. Medical software, you got regulatory through
Yes.
forever. She's
Oh
going to
yeah.
talk about regulatory. What do you need to be aware of? And it really doesn't matter what industry you're in. You need to understand, how do you work with regulatory, because you may be the only one in your project that's thinking about, what do we need to know. So come back next week and listen for Irina, and I look forward to seeing you all then. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone.
Have a good day.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye now.